Let's get started. Scott, the mic's all yours.
All right, yeah. Thanks, Neal, and thank everybody for coming in today. And I'm going to kind of click over here and get my slides up to talk just really briefly about the IRA side. I'm sure a lot of people on this webinar are familiar with self-directed IRA accounts, how they work, and the genesis of why I connected with Neal and wanted to do this webinar today is really to inform a lot of people on obviously using your IRA to invest in real estate in this specific interest, multifamily, but then also I just wanted to have get Neal's expertise shared as well on actually how to invest in multifamily and the things to look out for. So just very quickly, I'll go through my slides and take just a couple of minutes, and really wanted to leave the bulk of the time for Neal, but I'm happy to answer questions. Just a little bit on my background. I'm the Director of Business Development. Our company name is Advanta IRA. By degree, I'm a licensed attorney. I don't do much legal work, really, or actually any legal work for our Advanta clients. I do a little bit on the side, but I went with the company for a number of years. I started kind of the height of that real estate boom back in the mid-2000s. That's when I came into Advanta, learned the business, learned obviously the ins and outs of the different investments people made. And I've spent the last few years, though, really focusing primarily on educating individuals about self-directed IRAs and also networking and helping to grow our business as well. I always have to provide a disclaimer whenever we do a presentation. Again, it's just a reminder that Advanta IRA, we're a self-directed IRA administrator. I'll go in a little bit to detail that in a moment on what that means, but we are not investment advisors, and we are not tax advisors, and we're not legal advisors. So people who want to invest with us, you want to invest your IRA into a multifamily project, or you're looking to grab other people to use their IRA to invest in a multifamily product, we don't endorse any particular investment. We're not going to give investment advice. We're not going to do due diligence on those investments. We're here to serve, to basically provide a service, individuals who have money in a retirement account who want to invest in something outside the norm, get out of the stock market, get out of the mutual fund market, put that money to use in real estate. We'll hold those assets, but we don't give any legal tax or investment advice. So anyone who's looking to make an investment, regardless of who you're dealing with, it's up to you to do your due diligence on those investments. A little bit, again, about Advanta. We've been around for over 15 years. We have our primary office is in the Tampa Bay area, but we also have a location currently in Atlanta as well. So we have two different physical locations, but we deal with people all over the country with their self-directed IRA needs. So we currently have over $1 billion in assets under management with over 6,000 active accounts that we administer for our IRA clients. And I really think the value add that we give in the self-directed space is especially on our customer service side, of helping people with their investments, giving people and our clients one point of contact here at Advanta. It's not a call an 800 number and find out who's going to pick up the phone and help you with your account. It's a matter of you have a personal contact to get information on your account to help you through that transaction. And we found over the years that a lot of our clients really get to know their account manager, and the account manager gets to know them. And it's really is a win-win for all. Now, just to quickly go over a few things related to self-directed. If you're on this webinar, again, I'm sure a lot of you have already heard of self-directed IRAs, but if you're someone who this is new to, or maybe recently you heard about it, kind of why haven't I heard of this before? And the main reason is I think most IRAs, most 401k accounts individuals have are held by banks and brokerage firms. And those firms sell mutual funds, they sell stocks, they sell CDs. That's their business model. That's where they make their money. They're not going to tell their clients that you could invest in real estate, or you could invest in a multifamily project, or you could invest in gold and silver, and the really broad range of investments that are out there. So if you have an IRA with these firms, they're not going to tell you that you have other options. And so for that reason, most people who don't seek out other investments, again, you on the webinar today, you're already somebody who is in that mold of you're looking for something outside the norm. And that's, again, why most of you have heard about this. But the average public simply doesn't know. And less than 4% of IRA and 401k investments are held in an asset that would really be considered a self-directed account. And why do people choose? Obviously, the people listening to this webinar probably fit into one or two of these buckets. For some clients looking to self-direct, it's simply a matter of the IRA provides a new source of capital. So you're looking to invest in a new multifamily project, you see a great opportunity, you need cash for that deal. Well, the cash in your IRA, the cash in your old 401k can provide you simply with that capital in order to participate in that investment. For a lot of our clients and people that we've talked to, it's stock market fatigue. I'm tired of watching the market. We had a huge dip yesterday in the stock market. I'm sure some people know why. Other people may have no idea why the market hit. Everything seems like it's going fine, and then the market takes a big dip. Your retirement account is impacted through no fault of your own, nothing that you did. People want to self-direct, get more control over their account, and invest in things that they know and understand. And for some other clients, it's a tax reason. When you invest through an IRA account, the income that is generated from those investments comes back to your IRA, not to you personally, and it comes back either tax-free or tax-deferred. So for investments that are paying a large dividend or a large return, the investing through the IRA can definitely make sense from a tax perspective as well. And kind of to hit some of you who are looking maybe at your own multifamily investments, why are self-directed IRAs a good place for you to raise capital from? I think for these reasons, obviously there's many more, but it's repeat investors. Again, people who already have invested with you before. You let them know they can use their IRA account. You've opened up additional capital. Hopefully you're offering maybe better returns. Again, a lot of people may be sitting on the sidelines right now, earning 1 or 2% in a money market. You can give them a much better return inside their IRA account, something certainly they're going to look into. And I think a lot of times when people are looking at especially a multifamily investment where you're going to make an investment, your money really might be tied up for 5-10 years perhaps. Most people aren't expecting to use their IRA money anytime soon. They're 45, maybe 50 years old, maybe a little bit older. That money they're really thinking of, that's my income. I'm going to need that when I'm 65, when I'm 70 years old. I'd rather invest with that money into something that's illiquid for 5 years rather than investing in my personal savings account that I might need for a rainy day. And again, there's no outside approval needed. If your IRA someone wants to invest their IRA funds with you, they don't need to go to an investment advisor to get approval or get somebody else to sign off on it. Simply the IRA owner says, I want to invest with Joe. I make the decision to do so. It's a very simple and easy process. Now, the accounts that you can self-direct, any type of IRA, if someone has a traditional, a Roth, a SEP, or a simple IRA, certainly that can be self-directed. So again, if this is you that you're on here today learning for yourself, if you have an account with that designation, that can be used into the multifamily investments that Neal is going to cover and talk about here in a little bit. Any former employer's plan, old 401k, old 403b, TSP plans, those monies can also be rolled over to an IRA. We also offer an individual K plan, sometimes called a QRP. If you want to set up an individual or solo 401k plan because you're self-employed, we can offer that too. The only plan that you can be restricted at times for self-directing is your current 401k. If you work for an employer offering a 401k, they are allowed to restrict your ability to move that money. That's the one negative on those types of plans, is a lot of times they don't allow for outside investments under what the plan allows for. But once you leave a company or you retire, you're fired, whatever the case may be, you can always roll that money over. And moving money between IRAs and 401ks, I don't spend a whole lot of time on this slide. It's non-taxable. You either do a transfer or a direct rollover. The money typically could take anywhere from a few days to a few weeks to get moved, but it's non-taxable, and you can do transfers and rollovers as often as you'd like. You can do it in partial amounts. You don't have to use, you don't have to, it's not an all or nothing proposition essentially for what you're looking to do. Now the types of assets, again, we see a lot of real estate, whether it's single family homes, private notes and mortgages, mobile homes, etc. Obviously today we're talking, and I'm excited to learn a lot more about the multifamily aspect as well. But the common thread of all of these investments is that simply brokerage firms won't hold them. So if you call Charles Schwab or you call Fidelity, those are great companies if you're wanting to buy mutual funds or stocks. But if you say, hey, I want to put a private real estate syndication, I want to buy an interest in that through my IRA account, they're simply not going to hold it for you. It's, again, not their business model, and it's not that the IRS says you can't. They're simply making the decision not to do so. So very quickly, how does it work? If Jane has some money sitting in her Vanguard IRA, somebody has meets Randy, he has a private offering. She wants to invest that $100,000 into his purchase and remodel of an apartment complex that he's purchasing. Jane is going to get provided by Randy the subscription documents. So there's a prospectus typically when you're investing in this type of scenario, there's a very long document that outlines the plans, what the property is that we're acquiring, the projected returns, etc., that Randy is going to have drafted. It is, again, up to Jane to review those documents and make sure that she wants to make that investment. We will help her at Advanta get her account opened, get money transferred from Vanguard, again, tax-free transfer, to get those funds moved over. Once the funds arrive, we'll let Jane know, and we will then work with her and Randy in this case to make sure that the subscriber, the purchaser of the investment, is her IRA account. You can see in the bottom corner of that slide, the subscriber is Advanta IRA for benefit of Jane Smith's IRA and her account number. The tax ID number that's used is our trust tax ID, not her social. And this just ensures this titling and using the tax ID simply that the investment is made by the IRA, so it's non-taxable for Jane to use that money, and also the future gains are going to come back into her IRA with no tax consequence at all as well. So we're going to work with her, make sure this documentation gets completed correctly, make sure she approves it, and then ultimately we'll sign the documents, send the wire to fund the investment. Future dividends, splits, come back to her IRA account, and the gains now are her dividend. So rather than getting a stock dividend or appreciation from a mutual fund, she simply, those profits that that partnership or that syndication is sending back are coming back into her IRA. And again, this is income to her IRA account, so it's not included in her income whatsoever. So it's a very simple, straightforward process. We try to make it as quick as possible. We have a lot of experience dealing with these private placements, situations that are in a variety of industries. And we really try to make the process streamlined as possible with a private account manager. So we utilize DocuSign as well. We want to make the process as easy as possible. If you decided, I want to make this investment in a multifamily project, we're going to help you get that done A to Z with as little hassle as possible. And again, with that one point of contact. So again, I think that's the value add that we have. And I just wanted to give, again, a short overview of what we do at Advanta. I'm sure many of you, again, are familiar with self-directed IRAs already. But at this point, Neal, I'll stop sharing. I'll turn it over to you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. That was a great, quick overview of IRAs. A couple things I wanted to let you know before I get started. Number one, my IRA, my personal IRA, is invested in multifamily. So I'm making sure that I'm doing what I'm telling you to do. And second, we just got our 100th IRA investment. So, we've got about 300 investors altogether that are part of our pool. We just processed our 100th IRA investment. It is an incredible tool to build wealth and to build retirement income. So welcome everyone to Multifamily Fundamentals. This is not a fundamentals webinar. It's going to go deep dive. So for those of you that love to take notes, now's the time for you to look at your pencil. Grab your pencil and your paper. We're going to start with some very critical questions, the big why and the how of why people are moving away from just investing in stocks and bonds. We're going to introduce you to a $2,000 billion US multifamily market. This is a massive market that most investors have not invested in. And we're going to talk about the absolutely insane market trends that have driven fantastic multifamily growth for the last 7 years. We're then going to quickly explain how groups of investors buy multifamily properties together. We're going to give you the top 6 reasons, very briefly, that people have been investing in multifamily for 1,000 years. That's right. I didn't say 100. I said 1,000 years. And then if you have time, we're going to go through the life cycle of a multifamily project and then do a quick review and answer some questions. So once again, very deep dive. Scott's already said this, but we're not investment advisors. Make sure that you understand your risk tolerance level. Read investment docs carefully. You're free to accept or reject investment recommendations. A recommendation is not a guarantee for successful performance, and do not invest your money on our recommendation alone. Consult a professional advisor. So let me get started with the fun part of this presentation, the big why and how. Why is your first question. Why must you expand your portfolio beyond stocks and bonds? Why must you seek higher yields, which, warning, come with higher risk? Higher yield always comes with higher risk. And then how? How can you invest in real estate truly passively? No managing, no rehabs, no flipping, no tenants, no toilets. Let's answer those questions. And the answer to the first question, why must you go beyond stocks and bonds, is really staring us in the face. America's social security system and retirement planning system was designed for a completely different reality. And there are three important reasons for this. Number one, life expectancy. Your great grandfather worked until the day he died at the ripe old age of 49 in the year 1900. By 1960, the average age was 69, and that's when this Social Security system was created, and it's never really been changed since then, and your retirement really just had to last a few years, 3 to 5 years. Today, we're at 79 years and rising fast. Women are living to the age of 81, and we're about to go into the next healthcare boom, which should take us to about 90 years of age. Now your retirement has to last decades, but this Social Security system was never changed. It's woefully inadequate, and you are really in charge of your retirement. The second reason is that healthcare costs are rising far, far faster than inflation. How much faster? This much faster. 16% growth in real GDP, 168% growth in gross domestic product of the United States, 818% growth in healthcare costs. And you know what's really sad is that the vast majority of these costs will hit you just as you're looking to retire. The vast majority of the costs are in the final 10 years of when you're looking to retire and your income capability is reducing. This is why you need an independent retirement that's independent from the Social Security system. The third reason, my favorite, is stock market returns. When you adjust stock market returns for inflation, adjusting for inflation, I believe that stock market returns are far too low for you to get ahead. How much? Let's take a look. What is the actual annual growth over the last 17 years when you adjust for inflation, right? I put that in red because that's the key number. Well, it is staggeringly low. If you put $1 in on Jan 1st, 2001, and you withdrew it on December 31st, 2017, even adjusted for inflations, your buck has not yet grown to $2. Your buck has not yet grown to $2. How do you retire comfortably when it takes the stock market 17 years to grow a buck to $2 when adjusted for inflation? So understand that you need to do things to get ahead. There's two things that I believe you need to do. Understand the magic of compounding returns. What that means is when you make an investment and you get a profit, you don't go run out and buy a Tesla. You reinvest that money. And then secondly, adding investments with higher yields and higher risks to your portfolio. The math shows the astonishing difference when you take that risk, and go in for higher yields. Let's assume that you invest $100 and you invest it for 30 years at three different levels of targeted returns, three different levels. What do you end up with at the end of those 30 years? So at a 2% targeted return, your $100 has now turned into $182. I can tell you that is not going to be sufficient for you to retire. At 10%, it's turned into a slightly higher number, 1984. But once again, looking at your retirement needs, this is not going to be enough by itself. Now, let's say a portion of your portfolio was invested in areas that target an 18% annualized return. Here's what happens. That $100 over 30 years now turns into $21,000. Now, you know what's interesting about this? Those of you that have a mathematical bent look at this and go, oh, what Neal's showing me is not a straight curve. It's not a straight curve like this. It is what is known as an exponential growth curve. This is why higher yields, even at higher risk, are worth going after because they give you exponential returns. And exponential returns are what is necessary for people to comfortably retire today. So let's flip that around and look at it from your perspective, the end goal in mind. You want to have $15,000 a month in passive income 20 years from now? I know $15,000 might seem a lot to some of you, but hey, adjusted for inflation, it's more like $6,000. So if you want to have $15,000 a month in passive income 20 years from now, how much mathematically do you need to save each month? At a 2% investment level, you would need to save a laughable $30,000 post-tax per month to get there. At 10%, you would need to save roughly $2,400 a month. If you can do that, good for you, but most people are not able to save $2,400 per month and invest it on a monthly basis at 10%. At 18%, you're investing $433 a month to get to $15,000 a month in passive income. Once again, higher yields come with higher risk, but in my mind, the bigger risk is not taking that risk. That is my belief. And with that in mind, let's learn about what I do when I'm not teaching webinars. My day job is that I run two companies. I am a CEO and founder at Grow Capitus, which is a multifamily investment company, and MultifamilyU, which is the nation's largest content portal on multifamily education, on apartment investing education. We source, negotiate, and acquire commercial properties across the US. When I say commercial, I mean mostly multifamily. The current portfolio has jumped now to 1,600 units. We're going to be at 3,000 units by the end of 2019. We now have 300 investors invested in our portfolio. The portfolio is multifamily and student housing, which is multifamily. It's just a different way of looking at student housing in 7 US states. I speak at events and meetups across the country. I am passionate about multifamily education. Over the next 20 years, something really bad is about to happen to our country. You'll learn a little bit about it in about 10 minutes. And I want to make sure that people know that this is about to happen. 4,000 students, now more like 6,000, attend my seminar series. There's about over about 100 of you attending today, and many hundreds attend my Magic of Multifamily boot camps. Those are for people that want to be active. I chat with podcasters. I've been featured in over a dozen podcasts and radio shows throughout the United States. What I love about this the most is the aha moments that I create, and I'm about to start creating those moments for you. But first, a look at our portfolio. We do new construction projects like this beautiful building in Art City. We do collections of triplexes like this group in Chicago. We take older buildings like this ugly building in Vegas and turn them into beautiful 2017 buildings. We take 100-year-old buildings like this one in the South Lake Side and improve them. We take stabilized buildings like this one in Fort Worth, and we boost the rents and boost returns for our investors. We take RV parks and install gorgeous park model RV glamping resort cabins that take our income from $300 a month to $300 a night. And then we build new construction projects like Rails on Main in Buffalo. And we also do projects for individual investors. So think of this project, Windsor Park, as being similar to that project, but with a single investor, one investor and 1031 benefits. So now, this is what you're here for, right? Let's jump into multifamily. Let's learn the basics. And what does the term itself mean? Multifamily means not 2+ units. Might mean 2+, but it actually means 5+ units. And it reaches true economies of scale at 150 units because that's when I've got 4 employees working at the property. So true economies of scale at 150. Anything above 5 units is multifamily because a lender treats 1 to 4 units as single family, and you get residential loans on your credit. But at 5, you're getting a loan against the property, not against your name. And how are multifamily properties valued? And this is really some of the best part of my presentation right here. This is the aha moment. They're not valued based on comps. That's single family. Multifamily is a business. They're valued based on their income. So if you boost the income, you immediately boost the value of every property that's a multifamily property in the US. And here's why this is magic. Take a look. You have a 200-unit apartment complex and you successfully raise rents. You do a good job. You raise rents by $25 per unit. The value of that property goes up by $850,000 average throughout the United States, and it goes up by $1.5 million in expensive markets like Boston, San Francisco, or New York. Immediately. You don't have to wait for the market to catch up. Immediately. Why? 200 units multiplied by $25 a month multiplied by 12 months at something known as a cap rate. This is a way of evaluating multifamily properties. Most of the US right now is at 6 cap. So I'm giving you a lower number than the value increase. At 6 cap, this number is $1.1 million. In the San Francisco Bay Area where I live, which is a 4 cap market, this number is 1.5 million. And you get that value increase simply by increasing rents by $25. This is not a one-off scenario. This increase happens every multifamily in the United States. And that right there is the magic of multifamily. As you can imagine, loans are also based on income, but they're based on something else as well, the property's occupancy. So you'll get a fixed 10-year loan if the occupancy is 95% or 90%, whereas if the property is empty, you'll get a bridge loan which will have to refinance later. Most importantly though, it's not based on your income. It's not based on your credit. I have a partner that I worked with, a wonderful guy by the name of John Mark, and we did over $100 million in multifamily real estate in our partnership with him having a bankruptcy on his credit. This is inconceivable in single family. Why? Because lenders are focused on the property. They're scrutinizing the property in great detail. If you think that single family lenders scrutinize loans, try multifamily. They're going to charge us $20,000 to $30,000 to do their scrutiny with full-time underwriters sitting there, and they're helping protect you as passive investors. Because if the property is worth $20 million and I make a $25 million offer, that bank, which just spent 200 or 300 hours studying the property, is not going to give me a loan. They're going to say, this property is not worth 25, Mr. Neal. It is worth 20 million. You need to go back and change your offer. So lenders are actually investors' friends when it comes to multifamily because they're looking at everything based on income and occupancy. They're not looking at comps for the most part. Now, is this a get-rich-quick scheme? Oh no, this is a get-rich-fairly slow scheme, which is why it really works well for IRAs. The shortest that you see with multifamily are 2-year projects, and the longest is 7 years. Why? Because our properties are already occupied. I'm at 95% occupancy on a 250 unit, 10 units are empty. I'm going to rehab just those 10 units, and then next month I'll do 10 more, and then next month I'll do 10 more. Doesn't that mean it's going to take me 2.5 years just to rehab my units, and then slowly I can push up rents? Well, that's what we're doing. This is a very slow process, not a fix and flip business. You should be prepared to invest for a 2 to 7 year time frame. And by the way, my last project was a 10-year project. Now, a lot of people ask me this, especially investors, why are multifamily values less volatile than single family? Well, common sense. Values don't decline sharply in a recession, or on the other hand, rise sharply on the rebound, because the values are based on the property's income. And people still need a place to live during recessions. What happens to the 4 million people that lose their single family homes in a large recession? Where do you think they go? They are going to apartments. So I might actually see an increase in my occupancy in the middle of a sharp recession. And so because of that, because people need a place to live and I'm still getting my income, I may not be raising rents during a recession. I might drop them a little bit. But the beauty of it is people are still paying rents. So my values in multifamily don't tend to be like this. This is single family. This is multifamily. And that's the nature of the business because it's income based. Now, for those of you that are looking to buy your own multifamily, maybe you don't want to invest with me, you want to buy your own multifamily, please pay attention to this slide because you do not want to end up paying for a Class A building while you're buying a Class C building. So, Class A, the prestigious buildings, right? You've got the rich tenants that are living there by choice, above average rents. Buildings are less than 20 years old. You've got the granite countertops, the steel appliances, the dog runs, the indoor pools. There's no deferred maintenance. They fix everything the next day. They're right next to railway stations in downtowns. But here's the problem. Low cash flow, low upside for investors because you're taking a lower risk. And because of that, the cap rates have declined to 3% to 4.5% nationwide. What that means, if you don't know what a cap rate is, well, you're going to get lower cash flow. And most of the buyers are pension funds and institutional investors. If your 401k is invested in Vanguard, well, those guys have a division that's buying these kinds of properties. Their cash flow is very sensitive to recessions because people will go from a Class A to a Class B or a Class C when a recession starts. But in the long run, Class A's will always appreciate more. Why? Location, location, location. So if the institutional fund is willing to hold on for 10 years, even 15 years, and only sell at the peak of the market, they can make a lot of money on Class A's. B's are more the average Joe that lives in the area, a bit older than Class A, 20 to 35 years old, laminate countertops, black appliances. You're not going to see steel or granite. There's going to be some deferred maintenance there, Amenities are adequate. You're not going to have an indoor pool, but you might have a pool. Better cash flow. These days, cap rates of 5 to 6.5, and a mix of institutional investors and then people like Neal Bawa that are going out there buying Class B properties. The last project that we had, we bought a Class B property, but most of the time we're buying Cs. These are over 35 years old. They're never located right next to a train station. They're never in downtown. They're in less desirable location. They always have stuff that's broken. When you go into a Class C, you're going to spend between $5,000 and $15,000 per unit to renovate the exteriors, the interiors, the parking lot, the leasing office. They're always in need of that. Why? Because a lot of people that buy these properties run them down. So a very high level of mismanagement is prevalent in Class Cs. Rich doctors, rich lawyers buy these properties 2,000 miles away from where they are, and then they don't manage them. And this is the true value for you and for us. We come in as full-time managers of these properties. We get cap rates of 6+, and these properties have the highest cash flow on day one, and they have good upside. But keep in mind that unless we hold them for 15 years, there's going to be more appreciation on the Class A and the Class B side. But as an individual investor, if you're looking to purchase, I warn you to be careful that you truly understand what class of building you're buying and that you don't buy this building. D. Don't buy a D. D stands for don't buy, and that's what's selling mostly in the market today. 30 to 40% of all stock selling on LoopNet today is a Class D. These are the war zones. These are the places where the bullets fly freely. You never, never, never want to buy that because you'll never get 12 months of rents out of these people. Not our markets. We stay very far away from these. All right. So talking about bullets flying, are those the only downsides and risks of multifamily investing? No, there's plenty of other risks. The big one, the immediate one that you should be aware of, it is illiquidity. Multifamily investing is illiquid. Once you're in, you're in. Also, lack of control. People like Neal Bawa are making the decisions. You're not making that decision. So if you're a Class A type who likes to make all the decisions, this is not a good thing for you. Also, if you have 1031 benefits, they are much harder to maintain when you're investing in multifamily than in single family, because there's a whole bunch of people on the deed, not just you. So these are the top 3 reasons why people sometimes choose not to invest into multifamily projects, apart from that bullets flying piece that only applies to the Class D properties. All right, now for my favorite section. I love this because this is what you're here for. Trends. The trends that are driving the insane growth in multifamily started right around the year 2000. This is our 18th year of these amazing trends. And during that time, our rent growth has been incredible. The first one of these trends is that rent is now the new buy. Americans prefer to rent. And we're going to talk about that. And what's amazing is that the mouthpiece of realtors nationwide, the National Association of Realtors, is themselves suggesting that there will be 5 to 6 million new renter households created in the next 10 years. Are we building 5 to 6 million new multifamilies? Not even close. We're not even building half of that number. And remember, this comes from the mouthpiece of the realtor body. They understand and acknowledge that a massive number of renter households will be created. Here's the next part. Only half of all renters that have been surveyed by Wall Street Journal and Appfolio said they anticipated becoming homeowners in the next 5 years. Only half. This number has never been at this point. And you might think, well, that's because they can't afford to pay. No. Only 31% said they are not going to buy a home because they can't get a mortgage. 43% said we do not want to own. 39% said we enjoy renting. Isn't this new? This is not something people said 20 years ago, but people's psychology, has been permanently damaged by what happened in 2008. They saw what happened to their parents if they're millennials, and now they do not want the risk of ownership. They want to enjoy renting. Another reason that they said they want to stay is they're priced out of good schools, they're priced out of safe neighborhoods and parks and playgrounds and community centers and friendly neighborhoods, and they're not priced out of those when they're renting. And by the way, it's not on this graph, But have you recently read about the fact that mobility is extremely important to millennials? They move for their jobs. And as jobs become more and more virtual using tools like Slack, which my company uses, people are moving every few years. That doesn't work well with home ownership. In fact, I'm going to take a 1-minute break here and show you something incredible. This, up on the screen, is a real estate toolkit. It is the nation's most powerful toolkit about multifamily. It's available for free on multifamilyu.com, Multifamily University. And when you go in there, you will see trends that are far beyond this presentation. And this is an entire presentation, 75 minutes on trends and on the top 20 cities in the US that you should invest in. It's on the website. You can just click the play button. Now here is something, and by the way, a whole bunch of videos about why expensive blue states and expensive northeastern states are losing population. There's a mass migration coming and they're losing population. Click on this video to watch why. And then this is the most important single document to read on this website. Myers and Lee are two geniuses. They're very well known in the real estate industry. They're warning that the future homeownership rate, and by the way, it's been dropping for 13 straight years, is going to drop for the next 22 years. That's right. Oh, actually, the next 32 years. And their three scenarios of homeownership are bad, worse, and catastrophic. This is from the University of Southern California, and this is the best wealth building report you will ever need. It will take an hour to read, but it'll tell you what is about to happen to our generations. There are also real estate ranking reports here. For those of you that like single family and don't like multifamily, there's rankings for cities and states in the US. And then every trend, baby boomers, senior housing, the effect of the homeowner deductions, the inventory crisis and how it's affecting different markets, the slowdown that just started in housing, all of that in real time, updated every single week with webinars on all of this content on multifamilyu.com for free. Check those out. Now let me go back to the home ownership rate. In 2005, or late 2004, well before the last recession started, the United States homeownership rate started to fall. It's the light colored line, the orangish yellowish line. It has been dropping since then and only flattened out in 2018. They're talking about it going up for 1 year before it starts to fall again. But read Myers and Lee, and you'll notice that their three predictions are it goes this way, it goes this way, or this is the catastrophic way, and it ends up with 20 million less owners. This is bad news for America, people. But what's nice is it's good news for investors. You need to invest. You need to make sure that your retirement is safe. You need to read that Myers and Lee report that I just showed you. Now, millennials are even worse. Look at this blue graph. Right around 2004, 2005, their home ownership rate started dropping, but it just dropped off a cliff. It dropped off a cliff because these people were psychologically impacted by 2008. They do not want to invest in homes. They want to be mobile. They want to chase jobs. They want to chase technology jobs, and that doesn't work well with home ownership. And what about the baby boomers? Couldn't you rely on them to basically buy homes and keep homes? Well, unfortunately not. There's 75 million of these people, and they're not downsizing to smaller homes. They're downsizing to urban apartments. Read about this on the internet. And we're not sure why they're doing it. Maybe it's convenient services. Maybe it's easy access to amenities. Maybe they just want to be closer to their kids who love living in the city. We don't know why, but these echo boomers are not downsizing to smaller homes. They're downsizing to urban, high quality, expensive apartments. These are just 6 of the mega trends that are driving insane multifamily growth. The real estate trends toolkit that I just showed you shows 16 different trends. It shows you cities that are winning, like Phoenix, Houston, Atlanta, and cities that are losing, Los Angeles, San Francisco Bay Area, Boston, Washington, D.C., as this great migration starts. Now you might say, has it started? Yes, it started 6 years ago. California alone has already lost 500,000 people to these states because it doesn't have inexpensive single family and multifamily. And what I'm doing is I'm taking advantage. My last three properties were in Atlanta, Atlanta, and Atlanta. Why? Because Atlanta has the largest inbound migration from anywhere in the US for 8 years running, 8 straight years. Now let's show you how you can benefit from these trends. I don't have the time to show you all of them, but I think you get the point. We do it by buying together. We get groups of investors together and we buy large multifamily apartment complexes and then we improve them. We do this through a process known as syndication, which is governed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So this is a governed area. We can't do what we want. We have to follow a bunch of rules. And the way that it works is an experienced team like ours finds an asset to purchase. They offer the opportunity to pre-screen investors who then choose to participate or not participate in that acquisition. Individuals can invest, self-directed retirement plans can invest, family trusts or LLCs can invest. Everyone can invest different amounts and receive a proportional equity share of the cash flow and value gain. There's something else that you get a proportional equity share of that is super important. Depreciation. Did you hear that the new tax law allowed 100% bonus depreciation? That is an incredible windfall of depreciation that flows through to your taxes when you invest in multifamily. And what do people like me do? We do all the work. We find properties, we pick cities, we do contracts, we do due diligence, we organize the offering, we pool the funds, and then for 5 to 7 years, we manage the property. And for doing that, we get a piece of the profits. This is a pay for performance area, which means no profits, we don't get paid. We're not like stockbrokers. In fact, you get something known as pref or preferential treatment. So even the money that comes in, if first you are preferred to us. So there's a certain amount of returns that only have to flow through to you before we can make any money. So this is a pay for performance area. And how do we manage this property? Well, we assign a local asset manager and then a big property manager. And these property managers don't have 500 or 1,000 units. They have 20,000 units, 30,000 units. They are multifamily, I'm sorry, property managers. They run the property. These folks are the ones running the property. There's no tenants and toilets for you. And to be honest, there's no tenants and toilets for us either. The asset manager, who's part of our group, is the one that's working closely with the property manager, and the property manager's staff is doing the tenants and the toilets. Cash flows, when available, are typically disbursed quarterly to investors. Our goal is to target 9% annualized cash flow for those of you that want to invest their own money. And our goal is to double money in 5 years. Our typical projects, we project to double money in 5 years. We project to have 9% annualized cash flow back to investors. Of course, if you're investing through an IRA, that money is going back into your IRA account. And again, investors get preferred returns before the management team is paid. Now, I'm going to give you very quickly in about 4 minutes the top 6 reasons why people have been investing in multifamily. And no, these are not the reasons that I just showed you. Those are trends. Those trends are less than 20 years old. But people have been buying multifamily for 1,000 years. In the 10th century AD, people were building multifamilies for cash flow. Someone back then knew this was a good idea. And by the way, if you look at the richest people in America, take the top 100 richest people in America, there is one thing that is constant amongst all of those people, or I shouldn't say all, a vast majority of them. They hold large multifamily. They hold large multifamily. And they've been investing for these 6 reasons. Number 1, cash flow. The property has to pay for everything: cost of operations, your property manager, your utilities, your capital improvements. It has to pay for those, like replacing roofs. It has to pay for your financing. And then after that, it has to still cash flow and make you money. Those are the only kinds of acceptable properties that you would be investing in. Number 2, forced appreciation. Remember that magic slide where I said that increasing the profit automatically increases the value of the property? That's what forced appreciation is. Now, even with mostly stabilizing properties, just optimizing the management can yield big returns while enjoying cash flow pretty much from day one. Number three is my absolute favorite, professional management and metrics. I come from technology. I come from a background where I managed 400 people. There's no way to manage 400 people without professional metrics. So we've got over 50 metrics, sales metrics, cost metrics, and profit metrics, and we apply them every week. And this is what allows multifamily to be truly passive for people like you, because professionals like us are handling operations. Now keep in mind, for those of you that do single family, a vast majority of it requires more work and focus from the investor. And be honest, do you as a single family investor use sales, costs, and profit metrics every week to optimize your single family? Think about it. And here's one that works for both single family and multifamily, right? Inflation protection. The Fed and actually all of the different reserve banks of the world have now printed $13 trillion. That's 13,000 billion dollars out of thin air, which everyone knows is going to cause long-term high inflation. And real estate and gold, by the way, which I also own through my own IRA, are tremendous inflation hedges. But what I love the most is tax benefits, which have gotten so much sweeter with the tax reform bill of 2018. Not only are we able to take care of advantage of depreciation, we can do something that single family guys cannot do: accelerated depreciation, which means we call in a third-party company, and the company comes in and says, this table, we can't depreciate it over 27 years. It only has 5 years of life left. And that computer is going to be junk in 3 years. And this roof only has a year left. So we're going to depreciate all this stuff. And then on top of this accelerated depreciation is something known as bonus or 100% bonus depreciation, which is a staggering amount of depreciation. We just bought a property. That property was purchased for roughly $11 million. We found out yesterday that we were able to pass $3 million in depreciation to our investors as tax deferral from that $10 million property because of the magic of bonus. And sixth, once again, one of my favorites, economies of scale. When I'm managing 400 people, nothing's going to work unless there's economies of scale that are on my side. When you have a single family that's empty, you can only have occupancy at 100 or occupancy at 0. At 0, you're not making money, but you're paying a mortgage. In a multifamily, when I have 250 units at an awesome occupancy level of 95%, I still have 12 units vacant. So when a unit becomes vacant, my occupancy only falls by a fraction of 1%, which is why it impacts less cash flow because I have lots and lots of units. My marketing is very efficient because my marketing people are targeting a single address, not 200 separate addresses, and the salespeople are basically sitting at the property 10 hours a day. Anytime somebody wants to come in, yeah, sure, you can come now. Repair and maintenance is very efficient because all of the staff is being paid for. I'm paying $18 an hour for full-scale maintenance staff at my properties. I'm not paying $150 an hour for a contractor. My staff, my actual paid staff, is doing everything from doing granite countertops to doing resurfacing of cabinetry to doing laminate throughout the property. That efficiency is staggering, and everyone is being managed because they work at the property. And by the way, remember that 95% occupancy, I've got 12 empty units, right? I'm upgrading them without any impact to my revenue because I'm at 95% occupancy, and that's what I'm projecting. And that is the multifamily fundamentals. Don't stop your learning. Go to MultifamilyU. Check out that toolkit. You will learn amazing things for single family and multifamily. Once again, the toolkit is not for multifamily. It is for anybody that wants to know what is going to happen in real estate, from rent control to predictions to slowdowns to which markets are slowing and which markets are speeding up to interactive maps and visualizations of what the returns would be like for the next 10 years. The toolkit, which is offered for free, will give you incredible amounts of education, and we revamp the toolkit, or we add to it every week, and we revamp it every 3 months. So hopefully you enjoyed this presentation. I know a bunch of you have typed in questions. Give me a moment so I can look at those questions. Wow. Okay. A lot of questions. Do you have a recording that could be shared? Yes. Not only will you receive a recording tomorrow, you will receive my entire PowerPoint deck tomorrow. Um, so let's see. Can you use depreciation when we invest with retirement funds? That is a question for your CPA. Because of the rules changing in 2018, my understanding is some of the bonus depreciation can be used, but those are brand new rules. So I would suggest that you talk to your talk to the CPA. Thank you for all of those that have asked to invest in the project. We've taken down your information so we know um, what you know what you want. Question from Dave. I have several multifamilies purchased through with after-tax dollars, which I wish to sell to get out of monthly debt service, even though they basically pay their way. Any suggestions? Absolutely. Before I got into large multifamily, I was very heavily involved in small multifamily. So I had 10 triplexes in Chicago. They did well for me, but they became an annoyance because I have nearly 2,000 units, and to manage those 30 units became an annoyance. I sold them without paying any broker through biggerpockets.com. Biggerpockets.com. I have one left. It's listed on biggerpockets.com. Write this down, Dave. 1523 East 74th. 1523 East 74th. Google that property on BiggerPockets and just copy the format that I'm using. Using that format, you should be able to sell them without using a broker. I've been very happy with the prices. Okay, more questions. Funds with IRA, yes, you definitely can use IRA funds. In fact, about a third of our investors are using IRA funds. We actually have Advanta IRA investors. Let's see, what is the minimum investment to join? Typically, either $50,000 or $75,000, Alexander, is the minimum investment to join. How much is the training? The training is on multifamilyu.com, depending upon whether you take it live online, which is evening sessions with me teaching exactly the way that I just taught, just with labs. It's between $2,000 and $3,000 for people. Keep in mind that acquisition fees for you for your first project are probably going to be 50 times that much. So very inexpensive training. Our typical acquisition check, actually I can give you the exact amount for the last project that we closed, was about $240,000. So, and that was just the acquisition check. So yes, it's very fruitful for those of you that are interested in being active to take a look at Multifamily U. For those of you that are being passive, I still encourage you to go to multifamilyu.com, that's Multifamily University, because you want to keep learning. And I tend not to divide, multifamily and single family up. Yes, there's a multifamily section, but almost everything that you learn there will be about all the critical things that are happening in real estate. We are going to have a tipping point here very shortly. It's incredibly important to know what is going to happen to our nation. All right, so a lot of the remaining questions were actually people indicating interests in our projects. Thank you for that amazing interest. Let's say, can parents live in the apartment that I will own? Yes, absolutely. That's actually a very common thing to do. So having said that, we'll take that as the last question. I want to thank Scott. Scott, incredible audience, very, very interested in what we have to answer, what we have to say. And I'm hopeful that we'll be able to come back to your platform, do a full-scale presentation just on trends. So this one, we talked about multifamily. I'd love to do one where I actually take you through the 18 mega trends that are driving wealth in real estate and in other areas.
Yeah, Neal, I think that's something we could definitely do looking at the first quarter sometime next year. I thought the presentation was excellent today, and I'm sure everybody got some really good information. So let's definitely do that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for your time, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks so much.